All right. Ben, is it possible to mute the host mic? Because I can hear everything James Harris and James Garduno are saying to each other, like they're screaming into a mic. So, or if you could promote me to be a host, that would be great. That would be awesome. Sorry. Being aware of the multiple conversations that are going on.
Is that unlocked because Kathleen is coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
See, I don't think they can hear us at all, Renee.
All right. Are
Mayor.
we streaming live? Are we? good
Mayor,
to go?
can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear.
And we are live.
I see you. You've got pink and blue in your background. I see Councilor Villarreal, who has a much more attractive and traditional looking background. I'm in big heaven here. Are we
Okay.
ready to go live? Good.
I think there's a delay, Christine. Maybe just let them know that there's this like delay in talking.
All right, if we can get rid of the classic jazz wallpaper. As attractive as it is. But if you knew that wireless earphones were on sale for only $114 plus shipping.
That's $20 shipping.
Free, but special for you. All right. Whoop, I guess we can't. Quite yet. We're having we're like.
The
Mr.
meeting can
DeSantis.
commence. You don't need to see it. I mean, you can go.
We can go, okay.
Yes.
I was practicing my Ron DeSantis imitation. We'll be, we're live, but we're not able to go to it. All right, it is now 11:36. I am calling this special meeting of the governing body to order. And we will commence with, we'll have to stand up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance that Councilor Rivera will lead us through. The New Mexico flag that Councilor Cassett will lead, and Councilor Romero Worth will offer us an invocation. Then we'll call the roll. First, let's begin with our pledge and other activities.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship amongst united cultures. I just asked you to give us a little invocation.
Yes, so as we come together today in this special meeting, let us be grateful for the roles we play in this community and for the good that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have a person they wish to remember at this time? Okay, let's just take a minute and think about folks who are struggling, folks who are dealing with illness or issues in their lives that we want to offer our thoughts to. Thank you, everybody. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Weber,
Present.
Councilor Cassett,
I'm here.
perfect. Councilor Chavez is excused today. Councilor Lee Garcia,
I don't see him on the,
he's not on Zoom with me. No. Councilor Michael Garcia,
present.
Councilor Lindell,
Here,
Councilor Rivera,
Here,
Councilor Mayor Worth,
I'm here.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Present.
You do have a quorum, Mayor.
thank you, and thanks to everybody for accommodating this special meeting and zooming in or being in person, however you got here. We're really grateful that we could get this work done. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second,
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, quickly call the roll.
Yes. Councilor Cassett,
yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia. Oh, sorry. I'm still
Not
rolling
here.
through over here. Nope. Councilor Michael Garcia,
yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Councilor Lindell, you're muted.
Yeah, I think she's muted. I'll come back. Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Marworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
All right,
Councilman Dell, are you voting?
Yes.
all right, perfect. Agenda has.
Councilman Bell votes yes. Very good. So, Madam Clerk, we have items A, B, and C. I believe they're all interdependent. Do you want to take us through A, B, and C, and then we'll speak with Mr. Harris about what they are and how to go, why they're on the agenda and what we're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. So the first item is request for approval of architect and engineering task order with Molson Corbin. It's in the amount of $69,310.19. This is for the Santa Fe Regional Airport Phase 2 and 3 of the expansion project. Would you like me to read all three captions, Mayor, and then we'll vote on them independently?
Yeah, why don't you take us through all three and then we'll have obviously vote on them separately, but we could address them simultaneously.
Perfect. The next item on the agenda is item B. It's request for approval to apply for FAA grant for the use of programming phase 2 at the terminal expansion for the Santa Fe Regional Airport. And then item C is request for approval of a contract for architect and engineering services with Molson Corbin for the Santa Fe Regional Airport not to exceed $5 million.
So I think what I'd like to have happen is we'll do a quick, or however long it takes, we'll do an overview of what these items are and why they're coming to us this way, and then we'll individually take motions on each item. So, Mr. James, who's gonna take us through?
I'll do it.
Okay.
So the MSA or Master Service Agreement contract is for architect. Is for the architect and engineering services required by the FAA to receive federal funding for capital improvement projects at the airport. So the MSA contract had expired in August. It was never renewed, never extended, never anything, which put us in a bind. So when I got here, Ken told me that, Ken from Molson Corbin let me know that the contract was expired and we were at risk of losing all of our future funding from the Federal Aviation Administration. So we hit a learning curve. I was never used to doing the RFPs myself. I always gave the information to finance and finance did everything. And, you know, I was just there to make sure it all went right. So it was a learning curve trying to figure out the process here in Santa Fe to get the RFP together, finished. So it took me a very long time to get the RFP bid, and now we're trying to get it awarded. So, you know, I'll take the blame for having to do this rush job because we're falling into a deadline with the FAA where we'll lose our passenger entitlement funds, which amounts to about 64,000 and some change.
And they are requiring this by
July 1.
So we are
June 1.
June 1.
right. So we had to get it done prior to the end of this month and we couldn't even wait for the council meeting. So that's apologies to everybody for the requirement to come together on this special
Mr. Mayor, if I can.
meeting.
Um,
Yeah, Mr. Blair.
Mayor, members of the council, this was something that the FAA reached out to Director Harris and his team, letting us know we had attempted to work with them to see if May 31st would have been sufficient. We walked them through, if you all approved this at 10 o'clock at night, could we rush it to you and get it? And that was considered insufficient. And so that was the reason we had to do the rush, was to move faster than that. I want to flag as well, Director Harris being very kind to sort of say it's his fault. There is a learning curve. He's learning it very, very fast, but in the few months he's been here, the significant amount of work he has done with his teams, James Gardner and others, to bring the airport into compliance, primarily at this point with the FAA, has been extraordinary, a huge lift that he knew was coming his way when he came on board. But I want to make sure that as we reach out to you all for your assistance here, that we're able to acknowledge this isn't rushed because he wasn't busy. This is being rushed because it was put upon us by the FAA, and we're making significant strides. And Mr. Harris has done an extraordinary job of bringing us into compliance with the FAA to ensure that we're running. I think we're on the verge of having the best airport in this state.
And what's up for discussion is a 60-something thousand dollar. Is it a grant? It's an award? What's the correct term?
So the correct term is, it is a grant, but it's our entitlements. So every passenger we put on an airplane in Santa Fe, we get a portion of a tax, which is sent to the FAA and is put into a trust. So out of that trust, we're entitled to so much based off how many passengers we put on. So we've used a good portion of what's expiring. What's left is 64,000 that we're gonna use for programming phases 2 and 3 of the terminal expansion.
Okay. So let me start with item 7A. Can I get a motion and then
Well,
we can,
hold on here. Can we have questions?
I thought we'd get a motion and then we'd have a question.
All right,
So is there a motion on item 7A?
move to approve. A second?
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. I open the floor for conversation. Councilor Romero.
Okay, so you talked about passenger entitlement funds. Is this the 69,310.19 is what you referred to earlier as passenger entitlement funds?
Thank you, Councilor and Mr. Mayor. Yes, so our annual entitlement right now with the passenger numbers that we have is about $1.3 million. So we use whatever that portion is, and then the leftover is 64,000 that expires August 31st, the end of the federal fiscal.
Okay, so basically I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So the reason we're in this hurry up offense is because we want to make sure we don't lose this money, this 69,000, and we are needing to allocate it or encumber it to our phase 2 and phase 3 expansion. And if we weren't to do that, we would lose it, correct?
Yes, Councilor, that's
Okay.
perfectly explained.
Okay, so it's not really about the expansion as much as it's about the funds and making sure we're utilizing them before the deadline.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Councilor Rivera, your hand is up, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, and I appreciate everyone accepting blame for this, but this hasn't changed in over 20 years. The FAA is always moving quicker than we are, and they don't care about our process. And until we find a way to get through this a lot quicker, that doesn't involve special meetings and doing anything else differently, it's going to be the same. The FAA doesn't care about finance and public works and quality of life. They just want to make sure it can be done and be done quickly. And for 20 years, we've been trying to figure it out and we still can't. So, again, this is my last term. I'm hoping that, in the future, this can be figured out and be a lot easier than it is right now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Michael Garcia, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question, just because we went over the $69,000, can we get an overview of our contract architect services not to exceed $5 million? Because that's a pretty high threshold to sign us into a contract. And just if we can get an explanation, what we expect the costs to be. Are we going to hit that $5 million mark? And if we're not, what do we expect that to be?
Thank you, Councilor, Mr. Mayor. So the 5 million, that's just for what we'll pay for to Mose and Corbin for their services for planning and such. I don't expect us to actually hit that 5 million for those services, but most of the work we'll have Mose and Corbin do will be paid for through federal grants. So there's several federal grants that we'll be going after in the next couple of years. Mosen, they're our subject matter expert for these grants, for these projects, for everything to do with capital improvement of the airport. So that's their sole purpose, is to help us continue to improve the airport. I've never put a number on what the MSA contract was, but based off of procurement and legal's advice or them advising me, we had to put a number on it because it would be seen as a open contract. I can't remember the exact term that they used, but so we had to put a number on it. And the $5 million mark was what I expected us to spend over the next 5 years for their services. But again, most of it will be paid for through federal grants.
Thank you, Director Harrison. I guess the follow-up to that is there was an RFP process for this. Am I understanding the process correct?
Yes, Counselor.
So through that process, they didn't submit an official bid? It was an
Yes, sir.
open-ended RFP process? I mean,
Yes,
that
we
to
had,
me is a bit concerning because we can then enter into a contract with somebody. I know we're setting the threshold at 5 million, but we should be understanding how we're arriving at the number that they're going to be coming forth with through an RFP process. And I'm surprised that we issued an RFP that didn't conclude with a formal proposal with a figure, a dollar figure.
I think the city attorney's hand is up, Counselor. If you'll, I can recognize her. She may be able to answer.
Yeah, we often don't put a number in an RFP. It sounds like we're just, it was an RFP for services, right?
yes.
Yeah, and this entity won for that service under the criteria listed for the RFP.
Okay.
So it's, and the 5 million is a cap. That way we don't exceed 5 million. Like I said, I don't expect us to, but we could, with the amount of projects that I have on our CIP. I have about $29 million worth of projects put on there for the next 5 years. So we could hit that 5 million mark. We could come, and if we do, and we need more, then again, we'll come back to governing body and request additional funds for that. But we had to put a cap on it.
Okay. Thank you, Director Harrison. And I guess only one follow-up question. You mentioned going after federal funds. And given the unfortunate situation with our audit, that might prohibit us from applying from federal funds. Are you taking that into consideration?
Thank you, Counselor and Mr. Mayor. The audit does not affect our FAA grant funds.
Right, but if you said you were going to be applying for additional resources, so what do you know if that would prohibit the application towards any additional resource requests?
No, Counselor.
Okay, thank you, Director Harris. No other questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Other questions for the first, we can talk about any of the 3 items, but our motion is directed toward item 7A at the moment. Councilman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Harris, just a quick question. Is this funding with Molson Corbin? Are they also part of the parking lot rehab? Are they the contractor? I guess what I'm asking is this funding source also covering the completion of the parking lot?
Thank you, Counselor and Mayor. So there's no federal funding going towards the parking lot in this current project. In future projects, I plan to request funding for that.
Okay, just getting clarity on what the funds can go towards. So it's really the terminal. And what are the other aspects that this would cover?
Is it the MSA contract or the current task order?
Say that again?
Is it for the current, is it for the task order or for the MSA contract? Or
I was actually thinking about both, but I was trying to figure out what was different about federal funds and what they cover versus like other funding sources to rehab other parts of the airport.
Okay, I understand now. So the federal funds, they cover a vast variety of different things. They mainly like to focus on our passenger, whatever affects the passenger. So runways, taxiways, ramps, terminal building, anything to do with us putting passengers on airplanes. There's a huge book called the AIP Handbook. It's the Airport Improvement Program Handbook. It's about 890 pages, and it outlines everything you can use federal funds for. And I have a copy of that in my office if you want one.
I'm sure that's a lot of bedtime reading for you. No. I thank you for the distinction. So this is anything affecting passenger runways. And then I thought there was a terminal too, right? That falls under that category.
Yes, terminals do as well. Also with the BIL bill that the president signed into office, they allotted $15 billion for airport improvements, $5 billion for airport terminals, $5 billion for air traffic control towers, and $5 billion for airport improvement grants. So we are eligible for money within that $5 billion for airport terminals, and that's what this is the beginning of us applying for that grant. So with that grant, the FAA, they can offer that money, without any plans or anything, but the more we have planned, the more we put up front, they'll look at us more for funding. And everything we spend now, whether it be from the general fund or the airport operating fund, whatever we spend out of our money, they will reimburse if they approve the grant. So if we spend $100,000 on planning, and we get a grant next year, they'll give us that $100,000 that we spent on the project.
Thank you for the.
So we have a wide variety of funds we can pull from the FAA.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Councilor Rivera, you have your hand up, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just James, Director Harris, does this request to apply for FAA grants, does it include all grants that the FAA has, or is this a specific grant?
Thank you, Councilor Rivera and Mayor. This is for this specific grant. So every grant subsequent to this one will have the same process, but we'll go through the proper process to get it approved.
Yeah, my recommendation is that the water company does a overall resolution that says that we encourage staff to go after any grant that's available that they think is appropriate to help the city, and I would encourage you to do the same thing in the future.
Yes, Councilor.
Thank you, sir. Other questions for the airport director?
And Mayor, I'm gonna have a clarifying.
City attorney has a clarifying comment.
Okay, so I'm trying to clarify this with the other attorneys too, but then James just asked me as well. So is the 69,000 using funds that are being approved in the $5 million contract?
Yes.
Okay, we need to reverse the order of the motions then.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys need a motion on
RFP
C first.
Okay.
Yeah, before A.
Yes.
In that case, we need to withdraw the motion in the second on item A
Withdrawn.
and go for item 7C before we go to.
Move to approve item 7C.
Second.
We have a motion in the second, and if there's more discussion, I didn't mean to cut that off. We can still field
So,
questions.
Can I just be clear? I'm moving to approve item 7C, which is a request for approval of a contract for architects and engineering services with Molson and Corbin for the Santa Fe Regional Airport, not to exceed $5 million.
Correct. And that has to go in order ahead of the other. Floor is still open for questions if people want to dig into the items A, B, or C. We're discussing them all at the same time.
I just have one other quick question.
Yeah,
When you say this is an MSA, what does that stand for?
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are way too fluent in this we're just jumping in, so trying to keep up with you.
No, thank you, Counselor and Mayor. MSA is an acronym for Master Service Agreement.
There we go. All right. Thank you.
Great, good question. Anybody else? In that case, we have a motion for item 7C. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, and I just want to clarify, Counselor Cassett was the second on that.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Counselor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, Counselor Lindell.
Yes.
All right, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved for item C first.
okay, I'll entertain a motion. Does the order matter at this point for A or B?
I think the, and do you, and
I'm guessing the grant,
Task order then grant.
task order, the grant, yeah.
So B then C,
Yeah.
B then A, I'm sorry.
Yes. A is the task order.
Oh, yeah.
You
Says
want
that right
task
there.
order before grant.
Yes.
Could we get a motion for item 7A, which concerns the task order with Molson Corbin?
I move to approve item 7A, request for approval of architect and engineering task order with Molson Corbin in the total amount of $69,310.19 for the Santa Fe Regional Airport Phase 2 and 3 expansion project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item 7A. Is there a discussion particular to this item? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion for 7A?
Yes, I also just want to thank Counselor Romero Worth for reading that caption for me. Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
All right, motion has been approved.
thank you. And that leaves item 7B as the FAA grant.
Move to approve item 7B, request for approval to apply for an FAA grant for the use of programming Phase 2 of the terminal expansion for the Santa Fe Regional Airport. And sorry, Christine, to step on your toes.
No, you're not. I actually love it.
Okay,
That was
there's
the
a
most sincere thank you.
motion to approve item 7B. Is there discussion or questions about that item? If not, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Merworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Councilor Lindell is muted at the moment.
Yes.
yes, Mayor Weber,
Yes,
motion has been approved.
thank you. That completes items 7A, B, and C. And thank you, everybody, again, for making yourselves available on short notice. Mr. Harris?
Can I address the council? Was it?
Mr. Harris has last thoughts he'd like to share with us.
I just wanted to share with everyone that I've made an official request for funding from the state of New Mexico Aviation in the total of $12.1 million. That's from the House Bill 2 that was passed in the last session, giving state aviation department $55 million. And I've requested requested consideration for 12.1 million of that for various projects and needed things at the airport.
Great. Thank you,
Just to
sir.
give you a heads up.
Very good. Thank you for going after that. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.